Hello, welcome in or welcome back to my channel. My name is Deb from DG Reads, and it's time for another Horror Bingo TBR. Last year, Sarah from Wicked Reading brought us our first horror bingo card in the style of our fantasy. Each slot has an easy mode and a hard mode, and she just brought back a new board for 2025. This is intended to be read between October 1st of this year and September 30th of next year, so a full year to finish it off. I had a lot of fun with the board last year, prioritizing some horror books to fit the prompts, and I did finish it last month, I think. Yes, I think it was last month when I was doing my Connections Reading Challenge. I did get to my final book. So I'm really excited to have been able to plan a TBR for this next year. There are a few squares I haven't figured out what I'm reading for yet, and I'll let you know when we get to those what those are. But for the most part, this is full of books that I'm super excited to pick up. So I'm just going to go ahead and go starting in the upper left, and we'll go row by row and go through all of the prompts. The first one is to read a book published in 2025, and the hard mode is to read it before 2025 is over. And I am going to give myself a bit of a challenge on this one because I've been putting this one off, but Never Flinch by Stephen King just came out this year. I have this gifted copy from Scribner, and I'm not putting it off because I don't want to read it. I'm just putting it off because I'm running out of Stephen King books that I haven't read yet, and I'm a little bit sad to think that eventually I won't have any that I've never read before. This one is continuing on in the Holly Gibney story, but with a cast of new characters. I think from what I've heard it works as a standalone, but I'm excited to be back. This one says it has two storylines. One is a killer on a revenge mission, and one is someone who's a vigilante against a feminist celebrity speaker. The next prompt is for mixed media. The book has to have some in it. The hard mode is it needs at least 3 different formats. This is one I had to go searching for a bit because I didn't have any horror books on my shelves that I knew of that would definitely hit hard mode. But what I found is one that sounds really intriguing, and the book is Cold Truth by Nikhil Pradhan. This one is a case about a disappeared child, and it mentions police reports, interviews, leaked emails, WhatsApp conversations, so I think it definitely will hit hard mode, and I found it on a list of books that fully incorporate mixed media. The next prompt is for an indie or self-published book, and the hard mode is an author who's new to you. And for this one, I am going to be pulling out Hush My Darling by Lee Kenny. This is a Twisted Retreat edition. I got it without knowing anything about the author really, or about glare is going to kill us here. The book itself, we're following a tourist, Megan, who goes on a road trip around Ireland, and when she becomes stranded in the mountains, the Brogan family come to rescue her, but is it luck or just the start of her nightmare? It is not an easy cover to film, but I'm very curious about this one and excited to pick it up. The next prompt is for paranormal. The book needs to include things like ghosts or aliens or psychic abilities or anything like that. Hard mode is that the book have some characters who are investigators of the paranormal, ghost hunters, those types of things. I think my book is probably just hitting easy mode at this point because all of the books that Sarah recommended for hard mode are ones that I've already read and enjoyed. So if anyone has any tips for more books that would meet hard mode, please let me know in the comments. But for now, I have Beneath the Poet's House by Krista Carmen. This is one I think I received in a Nightworms box. Yes, indeed, I did, because the materials are inside here. We are following a character who's dealing with the loss of her husband. She moves into a new home and is immediately welcomed by people who are really obsessed with the house itself. And it sounds like they are hoping to summon some sort of entity from within the house. So I feel like at a stretch, there's a little bit of paranormal investigation going on from these characters, but I'm assuming they're not officially paranormal investigators. But I am excited to find out. And the final prompt on this row is one I haven't picked a book for yet, and it is to steal a book from someone else's TBR. And hard mode for this is to steal it from someone else's horror bingo TBR. So I will be on the lookout for TBRs to pull from, and Please let me know if you are putting one together yourself. I'd be happy to go check it out and look for books to steal. And at this point, I don't think I've seen any come out yet, so this is one I'll have to wait on. The next row, we start off with a prompt for vampires, and the hard mode for this is that some of it at least needs to be set in a modern day. For this one, I'm going to go with Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is one that I think is kind of horror fantasy, and my understanding is some of the story is told in 2019, which to my mind is close enough to present day to be a modern time. This is the gorgeous Fairy Loot edition with the really pretty sprayed edges, if we're going to focus at all. And I'm excited because I really do enjoy her writing quite a lot. And do I know anything about it? No, other than we are following a couple different generations of women. This is a story about life, how it ends, and how it starts again. The next prompt is one that excites me, and it's for water settings. And this can be something on the coast, on the water, whatever. And for hard mode, it needs to be majority on or in the water. And water settings tend to really work well for me, so I was excited to kind of look and see what I could find for this one. The one that I have penciled in for hard mode is They Came from the Ocean by Boris Bakic. This is a KU book that I have checked out already because I'm really excited for it. It's a group of miners, I think, on an underwater mining facility 8,000 feet below the sea, and then one of the people who is out doing some maintenance, I think, goes missing. And this is a little bit weird at 8,000 below. And then they get a signal from even lower from him or his suit or something, and they need to go investigate and find that there's a lot of dangers out there. I'm super excited for this one. The next prompt is for a book with horror movie elements, and I did a whole vlog reading horror movie related books, so I will have that link for you if you're looking for a few more ideas, but it means that I have read a lot of them already. The hard mode for this one is to watch a horror movie, so I definitely will be hitting hard mode at some point, but I wanted to include a book on this slot anyway, so I'm still going to hit easy mode also. So the book that I've picked is Smile for the Cameras by Miranda Smith. This is one that I received in a Nightworms subscription delivery. It says an actress desperate to reclaim her fame must survive the real-life plot of the horror movie that made her famous in this psychologically twisted locked room thriller. So I think this one sounds like a lot of fun. The locked room tends to work well for me. I like the intrigue of it, and this one's going on the list. The next prompt is to read a book that you can spell ghost or scare in the title and or author name. And this is always fun to do a little scavenger hunt for, but the pro tip that Sarah provided that Stephen Graham Jones will work for any of his books works well, because the hard mode for this one is that you have a BIPOC author. The book that I'm going to be reading is Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, and this is the Owl Crate Horror Special Edition of it. I have really loved his writing in the past, so I'm excited for this one. It is historical, which worries me a little bit. I haven't been super historical reader lately. It says it begins when a diary written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor is discovered within a wall in 2012. What is unveiled is a slow massacre, a nearly forgotten chain of events that goes back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow, told in transcribed interviews. It is an American Indian revenge story. I think that this is a time period I definitely haven't read a ton about, so I'm excited for that. That usually helps me with being excited for historical fiction. Final prompt for this row is to read a book that involves a liminal space, a space between worlds, a space between planes, something like that. And the hard mode prompt is that it have an even amount of pages. I picked up a book because this one was kind of hard to research which books did or didn't work for it. I'm going to be reading The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. I did find a few different reviews that talk about this as having a liminal space involved. I know there are kids in the woods who find the staircase, they go up, one comes back, the others don't, the staircase disappears, so somehow they're stepping outside outside of this plane or this world, so it makes sense that this would work. In terms of the page count, if I read the author's note at the end, it does end on an even page count. If I don't, it ends on an odd page count. So take that as you will. Well, I'll be counting it as, but this is the book I'm reading. Moving on to row number 3, we start off with an easy one, and it's for a library book. I use my library consistently throughout the year. Not a problem to pick one out. The hard mode for this particular prompt is to just return the book on time. I am very meticulous about returning books on time. I've maybe turned one in late because of illness. That's about all I can think of for reasons I have turned one in late. Not super worried about that. Currently, the book I have on hold at the library that might work for this, if I can squeeze it into my October reading, is Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian Macaulay. This is a new release, so it's going to take a bit for my library to get it into stock and get it to me. All I really know about this is it's an author I've read from and enjoyed before, and it says it's a Midsummer Night's Scream in this blood-soaked thriller set at a remote healing retreat. The next prompt is tailor-made for me, and it is to pick a book by chance. Let your pet pick it. Let another person pick it. Use a spinner wheel. I am a big spinner wheel fan, so at some point during this year, I will be picking a horror book with this prompt. I'm not going to do that currently, but the hard mode for this is the options need to be at least 10 options in whatever you're choosing from. So that's easy enough to do with a spinner wheel. Middle prompt, we're halfway through, is to read a book you've been putting off. And this is up to everyone's interpretation. Hard mode is that this needs to be the first book you read for this horror bingo challenge. So I went and just looked at my Goodreads shelf, looked at my owned books, and sorted by oldest, put onto the list to newest, and found the first horror book. And that is Strange Weather by Joe Hill. This is an author I've enjoyed before. This is a collection of 4 different novellas, and it's one that I have no excuse for putting off. I like the cover. It keeps calling to me from my shelf. I just don't get around to picking it up. It's an easy one to get the audiobook since it is backlist. So that's really all I know about it, but I definitely want to make this my first book of October, probably, or early October in any case, so that I can get hard mode for this. The next square is for LGBT plus rep, and the hard mode for this is it's a main character and it talks about related issues. And the one that I picked for this that I think will work for hard mode is Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer. And all I know about this is we've got queer characters in a big box store. They wind up getting trapped there potentially. As someone who's definitely living in her crafting era, I think this one called to me and I'm excited to check it out. And the final spot on this row is to do a buddy read. It can be an official buddy read, it can be a buddy read with friends, and I do a ton of buddy reads with friends with various groups in Discord. I'm co-hosting a couple of them on YouTube, though they're not horror, so they wouldn't tick this box necessarily, although I guess you could make a case for Vampire Academy. But the one that I definitely have a buddy read planned for October is Evil in Me by Brahm. This is a book that I had pre-ordered because I was really excited to start reading some Brahm, and I still am really excited. I just haven't picked it up yet. We've got a really creepy cover. He does have some great covers, and I always like seeing what's inside them. There's some very creepy imagery to check out as well. This one I'm going to be buddy reading with some friends in Discord. We've got a aspiring musician. She's had a falling out with her best friend slash bandmate. Her dreams of becoming a star seem to be falling aside, but then she's helping a neighbor organize some religious relics, and an ancient ring clamps down on her finger, possessing her with the spirit of a bloodthirsty demon. So I want to know more, and I'm looking forward to reading this. Moving on down to the next row, we start off with recommended, and the idea for this one is to read a book that's been recommended to you either by a friend or by someone on BookTube or Bookstagram, anything like that, and that's easy. I read books because people talk about them all the time. The hard mode for this one is that it be out of your comfort zone. And I don't know where to go with the idea of what horror is outside of my comfort zone. Outside of my comfort zone are books that are extremely sexual horror. That's outside of my comfort zone, but also something I'm not interested in picking up. So it's a little too far outside of my comfort zone. The other option for outside of my comfort zone currently is I've been living in audiobook land a lot lately. I'm still reading in print, but I'm really hesitant when it comes to picking up books that only have a print version that do not even have an option for audio. So I would say that's kind of outside of my comfort zone currently. I definitely have books that fit that, but aren't necessarily ones that have been recommended to me. So I'm gonna hold this spot open. I'm sure something will come up during the year that will work for this, and we shall see. But if you have recommendations for me, please let me know. I think a lot of my Twisted Retreat books would definitely work for not having an audiobook, for being a little bit outside of my comfort zone in that way, but I haven't heard very many people talk about them. So if you have any in particular from that box you'd recommend, let me know. But anyway, with that, let's move on to the next prompt, and that is to read a novella. And for this one, I went back through some of the ones that I own that are horror that have been on my list for quite a while. And the one that I decided to go with is In the Tall Grass by Stephen King and Joe Hill. I really enjoy both of these authors. I've talked about both of them already here. The story itself, I don't know anything about it, but it's a short novella, so I don't really want to know much going in. I like going in pretty blind to my novellas, so I will find out what it's about. The next prompt is Planty Eco Nature, and hard mode is that it also has those nature eco elements on the cover. Currently, I have slated in Nowhere by Alison Gunn. This is a book that involves spooky woods, and we've got woods on the cover, so I think it could work for hard mode. This is another one I received in my Nightworm subscription. It says it is about disappearances in a small fundamentalist town and what one broken family must do to remain together as dark forces close in. The next prompt is for a title that includes a verb, and hard mode for this is that it needs to be a backlist book. So I went again to my list of books that I own that have been on my shelves for a while to make sure I hit hard mode and look for verbs. And what I came up with is Growing Things by Paul Tremblay. This is a story collection. I've heard really mixed things about this one, but it's on my shelf. It's been on my shelf for ages, so it's time to find out if it works for me or not. This is an author who definitely can do really good things for my brain, so I'm excited for it. If I move slightly, it's because I was about to tell you I don't own this next book, but it literally showed up at my door yesterday, so I had to go grab it. The next prompt is for a second chance author or second chance genre or something along those lines. The book that I'm going with for this one is The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi. This one actually just comes out in September, and I received a gifted copy from Tor Nightfire, like I said, just in the mail yesterday. I do have the audiobook also from Macmillan Audio, and this is one that's definitely on my October TBR to pick up. I don't know too much going into it, but it's a retirement home massacre, so I am heavily intrigued. It's also a perfect pick for next month for October's Buzzwordathon from Books with Lala, because there is a weapon on the cover that's a knife, and massacre seems like a really violent word, which are the two prompts for October. So this is going to be a book that knocks a lot of things off my list next month, and I'm excited to read it. The author's book that I read before was The Boys in the Valley, and that one didn't quite hit for me, so I have high hopes this one is a better option. And I think I forgot to mention the hard mode for this one is that the book have an odd page count, and this one absolutely works. It ends on page 403, so this works definitely for hard mode. Moving on to the final row, we start off with a book with an animal on the cover, and it needs to be a real animal. Hard mode is it needs to be longer than your previous read. So I'm making things a little difficult on myself for hard mode because I have a really, really short book. I'm going to be reading Good and Evil and Other Stories by Samantha Schweblin. I have a gifted copy of this one from Knopf. It actually comes out in September, and this is an arc I just didn't get to in September, so I definitely plan to read it in October. It's translated fiction. It is 6 lucid, strange, and supple stories to lure us into the shadows so that we may confront the monsters of everyday life ourselves. It sounds really good. I'm just going to be careful when I read it. Maybe I'll read my novella because that's definitely shorter than this, and then read this immediately after to make sure I hit hard mode. The next prompt is for a one-word title, and hard mode is that the cover be colorful, as in not a black cover, because so much horror is a black cover. And for this one of the books that Sarah recommended for this, and it's one that's been high on my priority list, is Intercepts by TJ Payne. We're following a character who works in a place where they do human testing, and then something follows him home. I don't know too much about this. I know it's wild and bonkers from what I've heard from Lexi at Books with Lexi and Cassidy at Covers with Cassidy. It just keeps moving up higher on my TBR, so I'm excited to pick this out. And it's very much a white cover with red, so it definitely, Sarah said, would work for colorful. The next prompt is to read a debut book. It could be a backlist book for an author who's written stuff since, but the hard mode is that it also be a debut author. And in looking through my shelves, the one that I picked up is Sanctuary. This is another Twisted Retreat edition. This is by Valentina Cano Repetto. It says, in 1930s Italy, a woman must battle sinister forces threatening her life and sanity when she and her husband move into an abandoned, rundown, and isolated watermill. I love a good isolated setting, so this one definitely sounds up my alley. And my understanding is this is her only book currently, so I should probably read it before anything else maybe comes out so that we can count it for debut. The next space on the board is one I haven't plugged something in for just yet, but it's one that is going to be a lot of fun, and that is to do something that overlaps with another challenge. And with that, the hard mode is that it be part of a YouTube event. And October is full of fun readathons that are happening. Lexi with Books with Lexi is bringing back her Halloweekend event, which is a lot of fun, and I'm so thrilled that she has invited me to be part of it this year. I am going to be hosting some official sprints for it. I am so stoked for that. And the final spot on the board is for a horror book that speaks to social issues. And I find that this is something I find a lot in horror. There is some commentary going on, but the one that I've picked up so far is The Lamb by Lucy Rose. It says it's a folk tale, a horror story, a love story, an enchantment. As I recall, there's a daughter. She lives with her mother out in the woods. They bring people in, they fatten them up, they serve them up for dinner, that type of thing. And from what I read, this does have a lot of commentary about female rage and how women are forced to kind of swallow their anger and so forth. Hard mode for this one is that an author be part of a marginalized community, and I believe this author does fall on the autism spectrum because they have written for a collection of authors who are on the autism spectrum. So I'm making an assumption there. I'm going to look more into it to see if I can verify. But with that, I think this one will work for hard mode. If not, it certainly works for easy mode, and I am looking forward to it. So those are my plans for the horror bingo board challenge. Let me know in the comments below, have you read any of these books? Are there any you'd recommend I read instead of these? Are there any in general you would recommend, especially for that recommendation prompt? And again, if you're going to put up a TBR for this one, definitely let me know so I can check that out as well. If you've made it this far and you don't have anything to comment, leave me some sort of horror emoji because it's only fitting. If you could hit that like button below, I would surely appreciate it, and subscribe if you're interested in more of my horror reading, more of my TBR planning, and more of my bookish content in general. But for now, I'll leave you here and see you real soon in a new video.